Water, the essence of life. Without it, we wither away and die. And that is true for all manner of species, including man. Yet water, life's blood, often is taken for granted. Our daily habits frequently place our water sources in peril. Yet to many of us, how water makes its way to each of our homes is indeed a mystery. We rarely think about it. Well, it's time we did. Hi, I'm Ranger Chuck Arning of the National Park Service here in the Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor. And I am surrounded by detectives from the Thorndike's Road School here in Worcester, Massachusetts. And you see, I really need the help of these young detectives to solve a very important mystery. What is a watershed? Kids, any help? You know what a watershed is? Oh, all right, excellent, excellent. Now I have an even more difficult question, though. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What does a watershed look like, and how do I know if I found it? Anybody got any ideas on that one? Well, okay, this is good. We got the detectives all fired up. And I'm going to tell you what, why don't you join us as we go and explore the headwaters of the Blackstone River, find out what a watershed is, how it works, and with the help of Northbridge High School, we're also going to learn how we can change some of our daily habits to make sure our water is a little clearer. So kids, show me the watershed.
Are you positive this is a part of the watershed? It's an awfully long way from the river.
Yes, it's part of the watershed. Trust me.
Well, we better know what Mr. Watershed because we told that old ranger we knew.
Old ranger?
No problem. This is a real good example for the headwater of the river, kind of where everything starts.
That was from the bridge, and then after that go, and man, this hill is steep. I am so tired.
I
agree.
know.
I didn't know being a detective was so hard.
Me neither. It looks pretty clear over here.
Yeah, probably hasn't had much of a chance to pick up all the materials that usually get washed or blown into the stream. I bet that will change.
Yeah, as it flows down, it will pick up more stuff. What's that?
Hey, don't point that at me. I didn't put that there. I would like to know who did.
The water's still pretty clear, but there's a lot more stuff in it.
Gee, I wonder what this leads to.
Well, think about it. A watershed is just like a funnel of little trickles of water, joining other trickles of water, making even bigger trickles of water, just like this one, Titan Brook. Only there are lots of sources of water flowing into the brook, like that storm drain. That probably isn't healthy for the water.
Gee, I wish it was up there.
Yeah!
I don't think so. It's freezing up here. The wind chill must be -40.
Wow, you can really get a feeling of how the water flows down from here.
Yeah, you can see the ridge lines. Geez, it's big.
Man, Worcester and the Blackstone River Valley is so cool up here. Being up here makes a big difference. Can you imagine when it rains or snows, how much water gets poured into the watershed? It acts like a funnel.
And to think of all the stuff that gets washed into the river as the snow melts.
You're right. Think of how high the rivers get after the snow melts or when it rains. They're jamming.
I've always wondered how all that stuff got into the river, and the river's all the way over there. And besides, what are they doing down there?
Hey, why they point at me? I didn't do anything.
Man, there's a lot of water here. You're telling me it runs off the hills into the pond? That's a lot of water.
Well, yeah, but it's also fed by rain and snow, which flow directly into the pond. Some ponds have natural springs that feed it.
Cool, there's dams all over the Blackstone River. Look at one now.
Wow, there's a lot more pollution down in this water. I can see how the water from the hills can bring more stuff with it into the pond.
Look at how fast that water's going. I wouldn't want to get caught in that.
Where do you suppose it goes from here?
Look at this stuff.
Man, this is nasty. Just look. There's a shopping cart over there, a couple dumpsters, and a lot of trash floating by.
I just don't understand why one is so clear and the other's just so dirty.
Titanic Brook is much more cleaner and faster because it comes off the hillside. Beaver Brook is flat and it has a slower rate of speed.
Why is there a drain in the middle of a parking lot?
To drain off the water and it takes everything else with it.
You don't mean to tell me this stuff ends up?
Hey, look, here's where it all goes.
Here's another example of runoff. The parking lot just slopes right into the river. Rainwater and other liquids probably flow off the parking lot into the river too.
Pretty amazing how many components make up a watershed, isn't it? I'll tell you what, what's even more amazing is how a watershed actually works, how it functions. So I'll tell you what, let's catch up, and I do mean catch up, with our young detectives from the Thorndike Road School in Worcester and meet Donna Williams of the Massachusetts Audubon Society to get the details on how a watershed actually works.
You folks, I think, have been exploring what is a watershed, and now we have a model of a watershed. This is a bird's eye view of Anywhere, USA. It has all different kinds of land uses on it. So you know what a watershed is, but we're going to find out how a watershed works. It's a real dynamic system that people are very much a part of, and people can help determine the activities that go on the land and help determine water quality by what activities go on the land, because the water drains over the land and picks up anything that is on the land, and the rain and snowmelt take it to the nearest waterway. So let's look at this model here, and let's see what kinds of land uses we have, what kind of activities take place here. What do you think this might be over here with this bulldozer? Yes?
A site for a complex or something like that?
Yeah, a construction project of some kind. What does this look like over here?
Factory?
Yes, and we've got
G.I. Joe car.
a G.I. Joe car, and what's it parked on?
Parking lot.
A parking lot, okay. What else have we got here? This looks kind of like a McDonald's, but it's not. What do you think that might be with these big tanks here?
Oh, gas station? Or no? No,
A sewage place?
Yes, it is. It's a wastewater treatment plant. You have the land uses on the model, but then if you look at the model, you have all these waterways also.
Oh, but those are real neat.
Yeah, they are neat. And this, anyone know what this is called?
Storm drain?
Storm drain, that's right. And a lot of people think that storm drains are connected to the sewage treatment plant, the wastewater treatment plant. So someone might think that this is connected to this over here. But if you look, where's the storm drain connected to? To the channel, right. Most storm drains are connected to the nearest waterway. So if you put something into a storm drain, it's going to end up in the waterways. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think it goes to the wastewater treatment plant and gets treated, and then it's not a problem. But that's not the case. We can't put anything down the storm drain because it will end up in the waterway. Okay, well, these are land uses. People use land in different ways. These are businesses. These are where people live. And how they use the land helps determine water quality. And what we're going to do is look at poor land use practices, really bad ways to use the land. And then we're going to look at ways to use the land, but to do it in a much better way that isn't harmful to water quality. All right, let's get rolling on making some pollution, okay? All right, now let's see. You look like a contractor who's got this big construction project right here. And with construction projects comes dirt. So would you sprinkle a fair amount of dirt on this site here? We need quite a bit. A little bit more. Okay, that's great. Look at these fabulously green lawns here around these houses. How do you think the lawns get so green? Yeah, fertilizer, right, right. So let's see. You look like a homeowner who really likes to mow the lawn a lot and wants a very green lawn. So would you sprinkle some of this fertilizer here, please?
It turned it brown.
This is New England, and in wintertime we have snow and ice. So what do we do to the roads? What do we put on the roads? Sand and salt, that's right. You are our highway supervisor. So can I put some on your hand and you sprinkle it on the roadway here? Right, we've got some on the parking lot too, that's great. Okay. Our sports car driver takes very good care of his car. He changes his oil.
Every day. Oh, snap.
What we need is a couple of drops of oil right near the car. No.
No, it's cherry.
Okay. That's and one right here on the storm drain. Yes, our sports car owner doesn't know that the storm drain's connected to the waterway. So unfortunately, when he changes his oil, he puts the old dirty oil down the storm drain. He thinks that it goes to the sewage plant and gets treated. But we know that it goes right to the waterway, and oil is a terrible pollutant of water. Okay, now over here we've got a parking lot, and we have one vehicle here, but during the workday there are a whole lot more vehicles, and that's the owner, right, but he's got an antifreeze leak in his car. So would you give us, how about antifreeze over here? We'll move the parking space over here, Will. Great, that's good. Okay, he's got a terrible antifreeze leak. The clouds are coming in, and it's going to rain. So, we need two rainmakers. You're a rainmaker, and you're a rainmaker. So, just squirt really well. Go.
Now we got lime Kool-Aid, all right.
Oh, wow, whoa.
Chocolate Kool-Aid.
Look at that oil. Great. Look at our lake. Look what's happening to our lake. The point is, we don't have to treat the land this way. People can do what they do. We can have factories, we can have logging, we can have construction, we can have green lawns and golf courses and farms and safe roads. But if we change our practices, if we're smarter about how we do this, we won't end up with a lake looking like this. And the methods to make better land use decisions in these cases are called best management practices. And it's a way of doing things better to avoid this, what is called non-point source pollution. This is pollution that comes from everywhere. It doesn't come just from a pipe. Of course, we have the wastewater plant and the factory, which have pipes, but all this other pollution doesn't come from a particular pipe. It comes from everywhere, so it's called non-point source pollution. And we're all responsible for it. This is all, we all live and work in situations like this, so we can change what we do to make things better. Now, let's talk about the construction site. I don't know if you've been by a construction site recently and you see hay bales along the edges and these black fabric curtains. What do you think they might be for? That's right, to stop them from getting onto the roads and from getting into the wetlands. They protect the wetlands to keep the sediment from going into the wetlands and into the waterways. So we would put up hay bales and silt fences here to keep the sediment on the site. Well, automobile maintenance is a very good way to help keep water quality good. Our owner here needs to fix his antifreeze leak, and our sports car driver, he can change his oil. The main thing he needs to do is take his used oil back to where he bought it. The new oil, there is a law that if a store sells motor oil, then it has to take back the old used motor oil, and the store will get it to a recycling facility that will clean the oil, and that oil can be reused. So it's a very good way of managing used motor oil rather than putting it down the storm drain. Homeowners, do you think we needed that much fertilizer to have a green lawn? I don't think so. So you can reduce the amount of fertilizer that you use. And this home isn't that close to the lake, but we saw that his fertilizer went into the road, went down the storm drain, and then went into the waterway. So you don't have to live on the shores of a lake or a waterway to have bad effects on the water quality. Everywhere you look, you're going to see land uses. You're going to see land that water drains over. You're going to see stuff on the land that gets put into the water. And so now you folks know all about watersheds and how to make wise land use decisions, and you can become the teachers. You can tell folks about how to do what they do in a way that is much more kind to our waterways. You're great watershed detectives.
We've learned a lot about what a watershed is, and we've actually seen how it works. I guess the next important thing to do is to take a look at our own behaviors and see how, by changing them, we can improve the water quality of our rivers and streams. Now, the town of Northbridge, Massachusetts has a particular problem that is common to many small communities across the United States. But it has come up with a very innovative solution. To find out what the problem is and how the solution involves the entire town, we're going to track down Allison McDeedy, the program coordinator for the Northbridge Toxic-Free Diet Program, and how a group of the high school students from Northbridge High School, part of their environmental awareness group, has come up with some really good answers. Well, we finally managed to catch up with Allison McDeedy, who's the project coordinator for the Northbridge Toxic-Free Diet. And on a gorgeous day like this, you're probably wondering why we're standing in front of the Northbridge wastewater treatment plant. And Allison, that's a pretty good question. I bet you have the answer for us.
Yeah, you bet. We're standing in front of the wastewater treatment plant because, as you know, the discharge needs to go somewhere. And in this case, the discharge from the wastewater treatment facility goes right into the Blackstone River. As regulatory agencies have implemented the Clean Water Act, more and more pollutants have been regulated as part of the permits for wastewater treatment facilities. And in Northbridge's case, they were recently issued a new discharge permit that included heavier, more stringent limits for heavy metals. So that would be things like copper, lead, chromium, zinc, for example. And in this case, we've gotten the community involved in trying to reduce the amounts of those metals that are going into the wastewater treatment facility so that we can help them meet those permit limits for going into the Blackstone River.
Now, Allison, when you talk about getting the community involved in reducing the levels of heavy metals in the water, what exactly do you mean?
Well, we mean heavy metals such as copper, lead, and zinc, and some of these come from corrosion in drinking water supply pipes. Some of those are actually inherent in the water that comes out. In this case, this area here actually takes their drinking water from wells from within the ground, so they have a certain amount of background levels of metals in there. We're looking at reducing the amount of metals that are coming from consumer products such as laundry liquids, bar soaps, detergents that people are using in their homes that in some cases are very high in those particular metals. And in this case, Northbridge is concerned with copper, lead, and zinc, which we mentioned before. So we're really focusing on household products that have high levels of those metals in them.
Now, I'm really surprised when you tell me that household products such as toothpaste and bar soap and laundry detergent have heavy levels of metal in them.
Yes, that's right. And actually, some of them are magnitudes higher than others. In this case, as I said, we focused on copper, lead, and zinc because it's specific to this wastewater treatment facility here. But we've found products that have non-detectable levels of, say, copper versus other products of the same category, household category, that actually have thousands of magnitudes more copper. So even just a purchasing change from one product to the other can actually make a difference in what you're contributing in your household. The project actually has 4 different components. We've addressed industrial contributions to the wastewater treatment system. We've addressed drinking water supply and supply corrosion in the piping, as well as consumer products and inflow and infiltration, which is actually the groundwater that's seeping into the pipes that go to the wastewater treatment facility. Of most importance or concern to you are the consumer products. Well, we've asked people to take pledges, which is really taking a look at what you're using in your house, how much water you're using, because water conservation can be a big part of this project as well, and pledging to implement 3 different aspects of the project in their home, whether that be changing the products that they're using to those that are most benign for the wastewater treatment plant, putting toilet dams in their toilets to reduce the amount of water that's used when they flush the toilets, using water conservation devices such as low-flow shower heads, so we actually reduce the loading on the wastewater treatment facility. And we've actually found that high levels of copper are coming from the drinking water supply, so by conserving the amount of water you're using, you're automatically reducing that loading there. So that's how people are actually getting involved. They're pledging to the project, and they receive a household hazardous waste reduction kit, identifying where they should look for products that are high in heavy metals, and they're joining up with the town to actually reduce and help the wastewater treatment plant. Actually, out of a study that was done out in Washington State by the Washington Toxics Coalition and Philip Dickey, they had actually gone through and analyzed a whole range of household consumer products for ranges in heavy metals, ammonias, nitrogens, a whole range of parameters. So we took that data and we started comparing it. We did a household survey to find out what products people were using in their homes, and then identified what sort of reductions we could get with what percentage of change of that consumer product in the wastewater treatment system.
So you've really utilized a lot of the folks from the community to pull this off, haven't you?
Absolutely. We've used everyone from the wastewater treatment personnel here who have been outstanding in their support, town managers, town planners. The high school has been really one of the biggest plugs that we've had. They've actually gone into elementary and primary schools and done little skits about water conservation and how you can find toxics in your home and reduce the use of those in your day-to-day life.
Now, Allison, for the town of Northbridge, there really is a big financial reason why the town has gotten so supportive of this type of project, isn't it?
Sure, yeah. They're looking at millions of dollars in upgrades to their wastewater treatment facility to meet the metal limits that are necessary to be able to discharge into the Blackstone River. This is not only the situation with this wastewater treatment facility, it's in small communities all over the country where they're looking at implementing technology that's really not feasible on a small level like this. So they need to go essentially upstream and use pollution prevention on a wide community basis to meet metal limits to be able to discharge into our riverine systems.
How much would it cost to upgrade this wastewater treatment plant to make it in compliance with some of the new guidelines that come down from the federal government?
Well, the upgrades that they're looking at right now are approximately $11 million. for this facility here. However, if they were, excuse me, if they were required to go to some of the reverse osmosis technology to actually remove all of the copper, lead, and zinc out of it, you'd be looking in the range of somewhere between $30 and $50 million.
And for a small town like Northbridge and other communities here in the Blackstone Valley, that's prohibitive, isn't it?
That's right, and it's almost unreasonable because the technology really applied to a scale like this is really not cost effective.
If you were to come to my house and if I was to sign up to pledge this particular project, how would it actually work?
Well, we have pledge cards made up for residents. We ask them to take a look at the options that are available to them, which is changing the type of products that they are using, implementing conservation methods within their house, and they check off. I would come and give them a pledge card. They would check off the options that they are willing to do.
Hi, can I help you?
Yeah, hi, I'm Allison. I'm here from the Toxic Free Diet Project, and I understand that you signed up for the Toxic Free Diet Project.
Oh my gosh, the pledge card. Here's your pledge card, I found it.
Great, okay, and there's your kit.
Thanks a lot, bye. This is great. Now what do I do?
Hello! This is the Toxic Free Diet Man. I'm on my way.
Who is that?
Go ahead. Do your dishes.
Hey, what is this stuff? Oh, it's soap that won't pollute the environment.
It's great.
Thanks.
Excuse me. Use this. This is the good stuff.
Thank you.
So how about them mats?
Hey! What are you doing? Use the good stuff.
Good stuff. Oh, toxic free. Nice go.
Hey! Use the good stuff. The good stuff.
The Toxic Diet Project is for everyone within the consumer. That's the businesses that operate within the town, the small businesses, merchants, consumers, people who are purchasing in the local grocery stores, as well as kids and students. Everybody can really make a difference.
So it's a big partnership effort by the entire community here in Northbridge to make this program be as successful as it has been.
Absolutely, and it has really been successful. We've seen significant reductions in the levels of copper and zinc that are going into the wastewater treatment facility.
And you can make a difference too.
By
Buying smarter.
signing a pledge card.
Water quality testing.
Setting up toilet dams.
Water conservation. Elementary programs to get the little kids involved.
Oh yeah, and the fish will like us too.
Yeah!
But Northbridge, Massachusetts isn't the only place involved. There are other states like
Minnesota. Maine.
Michigan.
Connecticut.
Maryland.
Alaska.
And South Carolina.
And you can make a difference too. Just call this number.
Water, powerful, yet life-giving. But is it also one of those resources that we take for granted? I think so. Well, this has been Chuck Arning, National Park Service Ranger here in the Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor. And through the eyes and words of children, we have learned of the critical importance of our watersheds. Our actions can improve water quality or make it much worse. It's all up to us. And that's something we should all think about. Well, until next time, see you in the valley.